Have you ever noticed how some people manage to build a solid fortune without having to advertise every little achievement? While many are busy trying to impress with ostentation, these people are prospering discreetly, almost invisible to others. And the most curious thing, the more silently they act, the more power and freedom they have to make decisions that really make a difference. After all, why is it that silent success ends up being more efficient than that which is shown off? What is the advantage of getting rich without making a fuss? Why do some of the most prosperous people we know rarely talk about their achievements? You know that person who always seems to be calm, but you know that behind all that silence, they are accumulating success that many don't even imagine. What these people have in common is not just good planning or good financial decisions. It is something deeper that goes beyond what we see on the surface. It is silent wisdom. These people do not need applause or validation. They are not worried about showing off what they have or trying to impress. On the contrary, their growth happens so discreetly that, before we realize it, they are already on a completely different level, while many are still seeking external recognition. But what is the secret to this quiet success? Why can this silence be the key to solid and lasting prosperity? Let's explore this together, understanding how to stay away from the noise and the spotlight and focus on what really matters to build a wealth that speaks for itself. Because, at the end of the day, true wealth is not about how much you have, but about how you act when no one is looking. And here's the bottom line. The more you seek to stand out by talking or showing off your achievements, the more vulnerable you become to the expectations and opinions of others. Have you ever noticed that sometimes the biggest mistake people make when they want to prosper is to waste energy trying to prove something to the world? So what happens when you decide to prosper quietly, avoiding distractions and keeping your goals to yourself? The answer to this question can completely transform the way you see the path to prosperity. In this video, you will discover why silence is not only a sign of wisdom, but also a powerful strategy for reaching heights you never imagined. While some spend their time showing off their small victories, those who thrive in silence are building something much bigger, off the radar. But to understand this concept, you need to learn to value every small choice made away from prying eyes, every sacrifice that no one sees, and every step taken without applause. What if I told you that the secret to getting rich is knowing when to speak, and more importantly, when to keep quiet? Think about it. In a world where everyone competes for maximum attention, those who choose silence have an advantage that few realize. The advantage of not having distractions, of not being influenced by comparisons, and of acting with total focus on the final objective. While many are distracted by the shine of what is superficial, those who thrive silently keep their eyes on the real goal. And that, my friends, is what separates those who make noise from those who make history. So if you're tired of going with the flow, always wanting to prove something, and feeling like your energy is going to the wrong places, maybe it's time to change your approach. Because the truth is, those who talk less and do more don't have to justify anything to anyone. They simply let their actions tell their story in due time. Type, "I choose to grow in silence," to reinforce your commitment to building your success away from the spotlight. Let's dive deeper into the quiet wisdom and discover how you can apply these principles to your life starting today. The big question is, are you willing to let go of showing off your plans and focus on achieving them without anyone knowing? Because the moment you commit to this philosophy, everything starts to change. This kind of approach is not for everyone. It requires patience, resilience, and above all, trust that your work will speak louder than your words one day. It's almost a mental game. While most people rush to show quick results, you need to know how to value the power of building something meaningful, even if no one else is applauding. Imagine the impact of doing this. While many are still worried about what others think, you are creating a solid foundation, immune to criticism and judgment from others. After all, those who get rich in silence are always one step ahead. By the time others notice, it's too late to catch up. It's not about being selfish or hiding. It's about understanding that some journeys are best taken discreetly. Only then can you ensure that each step forward is a reflection of your growth, and not just an attempt to please someone else. Right, I am capable of growing beyond what others imagine to keep the focus on your own journey. But how, exactly, can you start applying this silent wisdom in practice? First, you need to reevaluate which areas of your life you are sharing more than you should. Does that new opportunity really need to be shared with everyone? Or could keeping it to yourself for a while help you mature the idea before any outside opinions interfere? Whatever the case, it is important to remember that often the urge to share our victories is actually a way of seeking validation, and this can undermine your progress before you even begin to reap the rewards. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to lose momentum when you start seeking approval? Now imagine that instead of sharing every detail, you choose to move forward in silence, focused only on executing. What changes? It changes that you start to surprise. It changes that you stop being predictable, and most importantly, you stop being a puppet in the hands of other people's expectations. Of course, thriving quietly does not mean never asking for help or sharing ideas. On the contrary, it is about knowing when and with whom to share. It's about understanding that by remaining silent, you also retain the strength and freedom to follow your path without interference. The truth is that this growth style is a psychological challenge. You need to learn to deal with the urge to shout to the world about every little achievement, with the desire for someone to recognize your efforts. And more than that, it's about resisting the temptation to talk about what's still in its early stages. Because in the end, seeds germinate better away from prying eyes. Type, I know when to speak and when to act, to reinforce your determination to thrive in silence. Now think about all the times you've shared a plan and shortly after felt your motivation fade. Has it ever happened? You start to feel pressured. You start to question whether you really should have told someone. This is no coincidence. When you talk too much about a goal that's still in the works, it's as if you lose some of the energy that should be channeled into achieving it. This is what we call emotional energy expenditure. And that's exactly where silence becomes a powerful tool. By choosing silence, you keep all your energy focused on execution and prevent distractions from diverting you from your path. Those who master silence master their own destiny because they can act without the constraints of other people's opinions. So what are you working on right now that could benefit from a little more discretion? What would you like to achieve without anyone else knowing until the result is actually ready to appear? Remember, humanity's greatest achievements were built in silence. They weren't trumpeted, they weren't discussed in conversation circles. They emerged from consistent efforts away from the noise. And that's what you can achieve too, if you're willing to accept this path. Choose to build your victories in the tranquility of silence, where each small step, no matter how small, makes a gigantic difference. Type, I thrive in silence, if you're committed to cultivating your success with discretion and focus. When you choose to grow in silence, you're actually building something that goes beyond the material. You're cultivating discipline, patience, and the ability to stay focused on your goal without being distracted by the opinions of others. It's as if each step taken without fanfare is a cornerstone in the construction of a castle that, in the future, will be impossible to ignore. The secret is knowing that true value is not in what others see, but in how you feel as you carry out each small part of your plan. While many are busy trying to show superficial results, those who work in silence are investing in something deeper and more lasting. It is like that tree that grows in silence, its roots slowly deepening, becoming stronger and stronger. The moment it finally emerges to the surface, there is no way to easily knock it down, because what sustains its growth is invisible but powerful. This is what differentiates a solid foundation from a sandcastle. Imagine that every time you avoid talking about a plan, you preserve the energy needed to put it into practice. This creates a cycle of growth where each achievement feeds the next, without the need for external validation. And while others are busy counting their victories, you are busy multiplying yours, away from prying eyes. This is the true power of those who understand that silence is not a lack of confidence, but rather a strategy. And do you know what is even more interesting? When you do not need immediate recognition, you become more resistant to criticism. After all, external opinions do not affect those who are focused on their own evolution. You start to value real progress more than the perception of others. And this freedom is something few can achieve, because there is always that temptation to seek approval and want to show what is happening. But when you choose to remain silent, it is as if you gain armor against any interference. What many do not realize is that thriving in silence is also a way of protecting your dreams. When you share something too soon, you run the risk of being discouraged by a negative comment, or worse, by the lack of enthusiasm of others. But by keeping it to yourself, you allow your goal to grow in a safe environment, until it is strong enough to be shown to the world without being affected. It is like preparing a seed in a greenhouse. Only when it is ready do you expose it to the outside environment. In addition, working without worrying about showing results gives you a unique sense of control. You are in control of your own growth without the need to make comparisons or measure your success by the standards of others. Once you focus solely on what really matters to you, it's as if each small victory has a greater meaning, because it was achieved in a genuine and authentic way. That's when true growth happens. What few people understand is that silence is a form of freedom. When you thrive in silence, you are free from expectations, free from comparisons, and above all, free to adjust your course without having to justify each choice. This gives you the flexibility to change direction, to try new ideas, and even to step back and reevaluate without the burden of having to explain anything to anyone. And that makes all the difference in the long run. That's why the more you learn to value silence, the more you realize how powerful an ally it is in building success. You start to see each moment of introspection as an opportunity to strengthen yourself internally before making any important decision. And this process of self-knowledge, away from prying eyes, is what prepares you to face challenges with unshakable confidence. The truth is that thriving in silence is not just a strategic choice, it is a proof of maturity. It is knowing that the time to speak will come, but that it only makes sense when there is something truly great to show. Until then, each saved achievement, each silent victory, and each discreet step brings you closer to a success that no one will be able to ignore. And when the right moment comes, your work will speak for itself. So remember, true growth happens in the invisible, in what no one else sees but you feel. It's that moment when you realize that you don't need to tell anyone to validate what you're building, because after all, the strongest roots are those that grow slowly, deepening slowly, until they're ready to support the weight of something great. Type "I value silent growth" to reinforce your commitment to thriving with discretion and focus. And make no mistake, silence is not synonymous with passivity. On the contrary, it is active and intentional. Each step taken without speaking is a firm, thoughtful and calculated step, far from impulses and distractions. It's as if, by not revealing your intentions, you keep your strength focused, preventing it from dissipating in search of approval. Because when you let go of the need to be noticed, all your energy is directed towards a single purpose: achieving what you truly want. It's this approach that allows you to build something truly solid and sustainable. While the world is busy with noise, haste, and superficiality, those who get rich in silence are focused on building a legacy that will last. This type of growth is not just financial, it is also mental and emotional. It is about developing an inner strength that makes you immune to distractions and criticism, shielding you from any negativity that may come your way. And in the end, what remains is the lasting impact you've built, the result of hard work and wise choices. When everyone around you sees how far you've come, it'll be impossible to ignore. Your success will speak for itself without you having to say a single word, and that's exactly where the true beauty of thriving in silence lies. You don't need to announce anything, because the result will be so obvious that the whole world will want to know how you got there. Type, "I thrive in silence and let my actions speak for me," to reinforce your commitment to building something big and lasting. So, if you like these ideas and want to learn even more about how to put this silent wisdom into practice, be sure to watch the next videos. Share it with someone who needs to hear this, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any exclusive content on how to turn your dreams into reality.